just to manipulate Soji.
Yeah.
And then of course they have a sexual relationship, and he uses her, um, takes her through that meditation. That was episode 6, the Impossible Box. Um, that's when he takes her through like this Romulan meditation, and he tries to kill her. And then when they meet up again on the planet, he's like, "I love you," and it's like, really? Do you though? I doubt it. And of course, by this point, Soji is able to see through it, and doesn't really believe him. And then we still have of Narissa and Narek having incredibly odd, flirtatious moments as brother and sister.
Yeah.
Very strange. What did you think about these two characters?
They were weird. I mean, I understand there was supposed to be some sort of incestuous aspect to begin with, and they took it out. But it's weird that Narissa's just still really like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Right.
All the time whenever he's not, because he just totally like hates her.
Mm-hmm,
Seems
mm-hmm.
like. But it's okay. It just makes her even creepier, so I guess it works. I mean, I guess they're fine doing their jobs as actors, but Narek's just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
He's just one of those guys that you like roll your eyes at when you hear him talking to some girl at the bar or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh, don't fall for it. Don't do it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, as the villains of this season, I guess they're meant to be like sort of the main villains here. I felt like Narek was definitely a bit more, I guess, front and center. You saw him doing a lot more as far as like the plan, whereas like Narissa would more like show up like at the end of the episode to like goad Narek into like, so did you do it yet? Did you sleep with her yet? Did you find out where she lives yet? Like, if you don't step up, I'm gonna send in my death squad. So yeah, I guess I found their that incestuous dynamic very off-putting. It just kept making me question, like, what was the point of that if you're never going to expound on it? Like, to compare it, like, we often compared it to, like, the Game of Thrones Lannister relationship, and if
Well,
you've
you
never
did,
watched Game of
because I've
Thrones...
never
Oh, I did.
watched Game of Thrones. Oh,
Ah, gotcha.
well,
Okay.
I say never, but I've been through this. I only watched the one season with the one person I cared about in it.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you've
Speaking
never watched...
of my space, my space pilot, my favorite space pilot. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So if you've never watched Game of Thrones, there are two characters on the show, Jaime and Cersei Lannister. They are brother and sister. They also have an incestuous relationship, and to the point that they have children together. But of course, she doesn't tell anybody that her brother is the father of her children. She
See, I didn't
passes
know
them
that
off
bit.
as... Oh, well, there you go. Surprise. And then she passes them off as the children of the man that she's married to, her husband. In that dynamic, like, they took that dynamic, they used it to take you places in the story. And so even though it's gross, like, I understood what they were doing with it. Here, I just felt like it was almost pointless, because it's like, what's the point of it? I don't understand why you even throw this in there. It just makes me question their relationship, but then it was, if they had revealed, if it had been like he introduced her early on, like, oh, this is my sister, but then later on they came out and said, oh, they're secretly married, but they can't tell anybody, or they're secretly together, but they can't tell anybody for XYZ reason, then, okay, that just adds to the plot, but I didn't feel like it did anything for the plot or for the storytelling.
No, it just made for creepy, awkward
moments. Strange. Very strange. Yeah, I felt like, I felt like the actors did like a good job, of course. But I was just more often than not left just wondering, like, but why? Like, that's sort of how I felt about them. Gosh. I mean, and then everybody else who's in the show, we didn't get, tons of them. I would have loved to have seen more of Jabon and Laris, the two Romulans who live with Picard on the Vineyard. But now I don't know if we're ever going to see them again, because Picard's like having space adventures.
He's like, deuces.
Yeah, see you later. Of course, we had 7 of 9.
One?
I know. I mean, listen, I'm sure they're taking very good care of number 1, but I would like to see more of number 1.
Yeah.
Like, can Picard have can he have like subspace communication with them, and they could show him videos of what number 1 is doing? Like,
yes, like whatever. It's like, you go on vacation or something and you Skype with your dog, or now you'd have to like, sorry everyone, Rebecca's childhood dog has moved away.
Yes.
With her family. And his name is Clark, and he's wonderful. And, she has to, like, Skype with him.
Exactly. My sister sent me my sister who lives in Florida now sends me Snapchats of Clark and what he's doing. So I get that.
And I follow him on Instagram and all that.
Clark the Beagle. You can follow his adventures if you want to on Instagram. But yeah, like, I would have liked to have seen more of number 1. What a cutie. And I love that he was a rescue dog. He was definitely not an actor dog, but he was a rescue dog. And I think that's more important, because you could see he wasn't the best trained, but I think the fact that he was a rescue was very important. Of course, we had 7 of 9 in this season, which was great. I loved seeing Jerry Ryan again. And if you watched Voyager and you saw how 7 of 9 was there, and now you see 7 of 9 very different. I mean, very different. She drinks alcohol. She's much more human. She's definitely more sort of loose, because like she doesn't wear her hair like so confined like she did when she was on Voyager. So also they finally gave her pockets in her clothes.
Yes. And
boots that don't have ridiculously high heels, and she's not poured into her outfit. Thank you very much. Yeah, like it was great seeing her, how she had changed. Really great seeing Jerry Ryan back. I hope she's in season 2. I'd like to continue her story. And of course, seeing Hugh again, played by Jonathan Del Arco. But I am bummed that they killed Hugh off.
I know.
I'm very bummed that they killed off Hugh.
Especially since he was the original actor that played him.
Exactly.
Unlike some of the other characters that got killed off.
Bruce Maddox.
Right? Icheb.
Oh, yeah, Icheb. That was a, yeah. And he was only in it for like a couple of minutes, basically. Now, I don't think he even had 5 minutes in that episode where they killed off Icheb. There were a lot of upset fans. I'm not going to lie. There were a lot of fans who were upset the way that they sort of killed off Icheb so nonchalantly. I guess they would have liked, and I get it, they would have liked more, if they were going to bring Icheb in, him and Seven had such a dynamic relationship
Mm-hmm.
in Voyager, and even in that scene where she does end his life for him because he's beyond saving, and she calls him my child. It's very touching. It's very moving. I mean, he was like her son. Yeah, it's really, it was an interesting choice. But I get how it worked into the story of when they go to Stardust City and not Stardust City. What am I saying? Stardust City Rag. That's the name of the episode, Rebecca. When they go there and then they meet up with Bjayzl, and that whole dynamic between Seven of Nine and Bjayzl, that they had a relationship and she betrayed her and used her to find other ex-Borgs to steal their parts and all that. I get it. It provides motivation for Seven to go after this woman who killed her child. But yeah, but I thought it was really great seeing Jonathan Del Arco back as Hugh, and if you follow him on Twitter, he was so happy to be to rejoin to be in another Star Trek thing, and he's one of those guys who he goes to a lot of the cons. People always want to meet him and talk to him, and he recently did an interview where he said that he based his portrayal of Hugh on his former husband who passed away. It was a tribute to his husband who he lost, and it just made me love him even more. So it's a really great article. If you Google it, or if you go on Twitter and follow Jonathan Del Arco, you'll find the article. It's absolutely worth reading.
I'll try to post it on our page.
Cool.
Wonderful.
It was so beautiful that he said Hugh was a tribute to his husband, and I just thought that was so beautiful. I know. It's very moving. It's really nice seeing Brent Spiner back playing Data. That's always a treat. We love Brent Spiner on this show. And then, of course, we had our individual little, here and there characters who would show up for an episode and all that. But I think overall, a really solid first season for me. I do feel like they did rush. Cool. I do feel like they did rush the storytelling at the end of this season. I think they could have done with 2 more episodes, and I think that would have been perfect. But that's just a small nitpick.
It's just something about like, oh, we got to do 10. Just do 10. It's like, what? It doesn't have to be. And also, they don't have to be the same. If it's just going to be streaming, they don't all have to be the same length either.
Yeah.
I appreciate it when sometimes one's a little longer than the other, because sometimes you need more storytelling in one than the other, or a little more time for everything that's happening to breathe.
Even like, just to go back to Game of Thrones as an example, that final season, there was a shorter amount of episodes, but some of them were like an hour and a half. Which is like a movie length, so, and others were shorter. So, I mean, they certainly could have done that here if they wanted to, maybe played around with the timing, maybe made some of them an hour and a half, maybe made some, 45, some an hour. I just feel like towards the end, it was a bit rushed. And I am surprised that they did wrap up the season as much as they did. I really expected there to be more cliffhanger stuff for season 2, but, again, I am still looking forward to season 2.
Yes.
I do, however, and I know I've seen fans disagree with me, I do, however, call BS on an android being able to do a mind meld because she read a book. I'm sorry.
She also plays the instrument. Maybe still,
I I, I, I know I don't want to get caught up in the whole canon about, what's more important in canon and all that. I just that